PhD students. Today here we have with us Dr. D.U. Lokhande sir, Professor and Head Department of Surgery, all the Miss PI, Dr. Jende sir, and all the co-PIs. Uh, now, today myself, Dr. Vilas Vaidya, OPI and Assistant Professor. Here we are gathered here for the inaugural function of one day national webinar or seminar in hybrid mode on the guidance for international education in United States, which is uh, now this program we are organizing under the World Bank funded ICR NAHEPCAST project, that is Center of Excellence for Advanced Research on Animal Food Safety. Now I request uh, our Associate Dean, Dr. S. Ranade sir, uh, to give the welcome address. Ranade sir,
Yeah,
please.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Vaidya. It's a little bit of a difficult situation because we people are sitting in Nagpur, you are in Mumbai, and we were already in meeting, but Honorable Vice Chancellor has shown the courtesy to come for the inauguration. First of all, I welcome all the dignitaries, right from Dr. R.C. Agarwal to Dr. Upadhyay, Dr. Kurkure, and of course, Honorable Vice Chancellor to be for being present for this particular meeting. And I would like to congratulate Dr. Jenda and his team for organizing such a wonderful program wherein the students are about to get the guidelines and the information about how to prepare for the overseas studies. I welcome both the speakers, Dr. Lele and Mr. Parela, and I hope that the deliberations will be very much useful for the students. I welcome all of you, all the participants who have joined online, offline, and the university authorities for this particular program. And I wish it all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Dr. R.J. Jende sir, Professor and PI, to brief about the seminar. Jende sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Vaidya. Uh, Good morning, everyone. Respected Colonel Dr. Professor A.M. Patrukar sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of our university, Dr. R.C. Agarwal sir, DDG Education and National Director, NAHIP, Dr. Anuradha Agarwal Madam, NC, NHP, Dr. Upadhyay sir, DI and Dean, Dr. N.V. Kurkure sir, Director of Research, Dr. Bikane sir, Director of Extension, and Dr. Wasnik, Dean Faculty of Dairy Technology, and our acting Dean, Dr. Lokhande sir, then Ranade sir, and my team. And today's speaker, Dr. Ryan Pereira and Aditi Lele. So this program is actually organized for our first time in our university for the students, those who are aspiring the and going for the higher studies in the institutions in USA. So as you know that there are various private agencies are acting there to guide the student for getting the admission in the various foreign universities, but to get the proper guidance and the proper admission procedures and the fee structure and everything. So we have to have look for the some authentic information to be provided from the any reliable institutes like US IEF. So that is why our honorable vice chancellor he asked me to organize such kind of program for our students. So those who are interested to go abroad for the higher studies like PhD and the postdoc, so they can be get avail these opportunities, interact with the US IEF and get admissions over there. So with that intentions, we have organized this program. So today we have with us Dr. Ryan Pereira, sir. He is a regional officer of this USIF office in Mumbai, and Dr. Aditi Lele. They both will be guiding our student how this very easy procedure for getting the admissions in the USA. So thank you so much. So with that intention, we are organizing this training program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the brief information about this today's seminar. Now, as our uh, DI and Dean, Dr. S.V. Upadhyay, sir, is busy in JSRC meeting, which is going to be at our headquarter, MAPSU. Now, I request the president of today's function, Colonel Dr. Professor M. Patrukar, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, MAPSU, Nagpur, to give the presidential address. Patrukar, sir, please.
Yeah. Good morning, all. You can hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning, all. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Pereira and Ms. Lele, who have come to guide our students along with the Associate Dean of Mumbai Veterinary College, PI of the project, and all the staff and students of Mumbai Veterinary College. The intention for this organization is so many students from our institute, from the university, you can say, they are going or pursuing their studies in USA, either for postdoc or PhD. Even the USA students can come to India for, say, the internships. Like we have a huge number of cases in our OPDs, and they can get hands-on training directly. This much cases you are not going to get in USA, and variety of the cases like pet animals, large animals, small ruminants, and so many others. Wild animals, we have got the best institute at Nagpur for wild animals. So my intention was how our students can be guided, or your student, or there should be some exchange program under new education policy. So even we can collaborate university to university, like MAPSU with other universities in USA, so that our students can get benefited. So those students who are ready, who can go there, pursue their studies, come back in India, or your students can come here, have the hands-on training and go back to USA. This way we can work out how it should be beneficial to both the sides. So I think Dr. Pereira and Lele will guide us in this, number one, and all the students who are offline and online will get benefited. Definitely, I was busy with my ASRC, and ASRC is already going on. So sorry for that, I could not join for complete program. But Dr. Jende and Dr. Lokhande, Associate Dean, will take care of this. And all the students who you also ask the questions, whether USA degree or Indian degree is valid in USA or not, what type of exams we have to give in India or in USA when you get the degree from any country. So like this, how we can get benefited, that you can ask Dr. Pereira and Ms. Lele. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and please allow me to join my ASRC meeting, and please continue your meeting with the students. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable guidance and always support and suggestions and encouragement to the students and staff to carry out the further higher studies at USA. Thank you very much for your presidential remark. Now I request Dr. B.N. Ramteke, sir, co-PI and Professor, Department of Animal Nutrition, to give the vote of thanks. Ramteke, sir.
A very good morning to all. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Mapsu Naib, Caste Mumbai. I extend very hearty vote of thanks to all my dignitaries, speakers, colleagues, participating faculties and students for joining us today on the occasion of one-day national seminar on guidance for international education in USA in collaboration with US Consulate General Mumbai and Education USA Mumbai, organized under World Bank funded ICR project Naib Caste. So first and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to thank President of today's function, Colonel Dr. Professor M. Paturkar sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Maharashtra Animal and Fishery Sciences University, Nagpur, who has always supported and guided us and spent his valuable time from his busy schedule, as we all know that there is another meeting is going on. So thank you very much, sir, for your constant support and presidential remark. Thank you very much, sir. I'm also thankful to Dr. R.C. Agrawal, DDG and National Director, NAHEP ICR, for funding this NAHEP project under World Bank. I'm also thankful to Dr. Nunada Agrawal, National Coordinator, NAHEP Caste ICR New Delhi, for her constant support and for implementation of this project. I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. S.V. Upadhyay, Director of Instruction and Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, due to his busy schedule, he could not attend, but his support is always there for this Naib Caste project. I also extend my gratitude to today's guest speaker, Dr. Ryan Pereira, Regional Officer at United States India Educational Foundation, New Delhi, and Dr. Aditi Lele for accepting our invitation and their valuable time. And definitely they will guide us about the process and what do's and don'ts for education in USA. I welcome both of you, sir, madam. We are also grateful to Maps University authorities, Dr. Ni Kurkure, Doctor of Research, Dr. U. Vikane, Director of Extension Education, Dr. P.G. Vasnik, Dean Faculty of Dairy Technology, MAPSU, and other for their constant inspiration, moral support, and encouragement. I would like to thank our Associate Dean and Project Implementing Officer and Course Director, Dr. A.S. Ranade, sir, for his constant support, help, and encouragement for organizing such wonderful event. I'm also thankful to today's Associate Dean, Dr. Lokhande, sir, for his sparing valuable time for this seminar. I also extend my sincere thanks to Dr. R.J. Jhinde, Post-Director and PA of the project, for his untiring efforts to continue this project. I also extend my thanks to organizing secretaries, Dr. Vedde, Dr. Gaikwad, Dr. Shukla, Dr. Gandage, and co-organizing secretaries, Dr. Ingole, Dr. Meshram, Dr. Bharkad, for their efforts and support for implementing this program. And many thanks to program coordinators and co-coordinators. I also extend my thanks to all participants, all the faculties joined from various colleges, and all PG and PhD students to take advantage of this seminar. Also, thanks to all the team of NAHEB. And once again, I'm grateful to the team for giving me opportunity to express the vote of thanks. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir, for the vote of thanks. Now I request Dr. R.J. Jhinde, sir, to start the technical session. So, and give brief information and introduction about the today's speakers. So,
So
Jhinde, sir.
thank you, Dr. Vedde, sir. Today we have with us two eminent speakers. Dr. Ryan Pereira, sir. He is a regional officer, United States India Education Foundation, Mumbai office. Ryan Pereira, sir, is a regional officer at United States in Mumbai region, where he supervises both the education in USA and Fulbright programs in Western India. Ryan sir has over 11 years experience guiding students interested in pursuing higher studies in the US. Prior to that, Mr. Pereira sir is taught various courses in the molecular biology, biotechnology at St. Xavier College, Mumbai during 2009 to 10 academic year. Mr. Pereira was the postdoctoral fellow and the research associate in the Department of Molecular Medicine at Cornell University, where he trained with Dr. Richard Serion, originally from Mumbai. He has a BSc in zoology and biochemistry from St. Xavier College, Mumbai, and MSc in biochemistry from Mumbai University, and PhD in biochemistry from the OUA State University, USA. So with this brief introduction, I request our Associate Dean, Dr. Lokhande sir, to welcome him by offering bouquet and shawl and slipper. Dr. Lokhande sir, please.
Now I request our Associate Dean, Dr. D.V. Lokhande, sir, to welcome the Dr. Aditi Madam.
The wait. So I introduce another speaker, Dr. Aditi Lele, madam. He is in Education USA. He is an advisor in ASIF Mumbai. Dr. Aditi Madam is Education USA advisor and has been guiding students for the just over 2 years from the USIF Mumbai Center. As a graduate student, she was actively involved with the international student community in various capacities. While she was in the US, being the product of both the Indian and American higher education system, she enjoys advising and guiding students who wish to pursue their higher education in the US. Aditi has the MSc in Biodiversity from Savitri Phule University, Pune, and PhD in Biology from the University of Arkansas. So I request again Associate Dean Lokandesa to welcome her by offering a bouquet and shawl.
Now I request Dr. Jhende sir, PI, to welcome our Associate Dean Dr. D.V. Lokhande sir, please, by offering the flower bouquet.
So now I request Dr. Ryan sir to start his talk. Uh, so he will be speaking today on how to get the admission in the USA, what are the special collaborations we can have as a university, how the faculty members from our university, and the student how they can go for the Fulbright fellowship. So in the morning itself, while discussing with sir, he asked so many students they have joined offline, online, and no one has a Fulbright fellowship. So certainly he will give the information about that and what are the queries also. You can write it down during his lecture, and after lectures you can ask questions. Okay. So I request Brian sir to start your class.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Zende, for the invitation. And I'd like to start by thanking the Honorable Vice Chancellor for giving us this opportunity to talk to you all. This is our first time visiting this college and the university, and it's always a good experience to talk to students and faculty about how to pursue higher studies in the US, as well as how to apply for the Fulbright fellowships. And we're going to talk about both aspects of it, studying in the US as a PhD and postdoc, as well as the Fulbright fellowships for faculty and as well as postdocs. There we go. So, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. Thank you. So I've broken down the topic into 4 different aspects. We'll talk a little bit about who we are. Then we'll talk about higher studies in the US for all the master's students and how to go through the application process for higher studies. And both Aditi and I have studied in the US for a PhD. So we've both been through this process ourselves. Then we'll talk a little bit about the doctoral students and the postdoctoral opportunities in the US. And then we'll take the question and answers towards the end. So, there we go. Thank you. Got it. So the United States India Educational Foundation was founded more than 70 years ago by the Indian and the US governments. And we do several things. The main priority of this organization is to administer the Fulbright fellowships, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we also, like the Vice Chancellor was talking about, we want to have the communications and the exchanges between the Americans and the Indian institutions. In addition, we represent Education USA, which is the US government agency, and we also act as the resource for linkages between US and Indian universities. So Education USA is the US Department of State supported body. It's found wherever the US government has a post or an embassy. The goal of Education USA is to provide accurate, current, and comprehensive information for those interested in pursuing higher studies in the US. You all are fully aware that there are so much information about how to study in the US and which universities to go to. There are so many of these agencies out there. Education USA is the official source of information. In India, there are 8 Education USA centers. So as I was saying, that there's a lot of information out there about how to go about this process of applying for higher studies in the US. Your friends, family members, seniors, everybody wants to tell you what you should be doing with your life. And sometimes it can get, and people go to Google to get information, which is not the best thing. So to help structure the students' application process, Education USA has broken down the process into 5 distinct steps: research your options, finance your studies, complete your applications, apply for your visa, and then get ready to go. The other thing that I want to talk about is the Fulbright Fellowships. So the Fulbright program was founded in 1946 by the Senator J.W. Fulbright. And it was his vision that soon after World War II, the world was in disarray. So his vision was, let's bring people from all different countries to the US, and they can learn about the US, then go back to their home countries and spread information about the US in their home countries. So far, we've given over 4 lakh scholarships. 8,000 fellowships are given worldwide. And in India, we've administered 21,000 fellowships since our foundation. So about 300 a year. And this includes both US and Indian scholars. So we give around 110 to 130 fellowships to Indian citizens every year. The goal of the Fulbright program is to create mutual understanding between the people of the United States and the people of in other countries, including India. So there are several offerings that we have. The ones with the blue background, we call the Fulbright Nehru or the Fulbright Kalam fellowships. These are jointly funded by the US and Indian government. That's why the names are to give the reverence to both the Fulbright as well as the Indian leaders. Okay. And here we have the fellowships in various categories for the master's, doctoral, postdoctoral, and academic and professional excellence, as well as the Fulbright Nehru visiting chair. The ones with a gold background are fellowships that are offered exclusively funded by the US government. Okay. So these include the Hubert Humphreys, which is again a very, very prestigious fellowship for mid-career people. Then we have the Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant, where you go to the US to learn. This meant for college teachers, teach English here, take classes in the US on how to teach English. And then they also, while they're in the US, they'll teach an Indian language, either Hindi or Urdu, to the US students.
ए, तुला तिथे बोलवलं फोटो काढायला नाश्ता करतो.
Then we have two fellowships. School teachers, the Distinguished Awards in Teaching, and the TEA, Teaching Excellence Fellowship, and the Fulbright Scholar in Residence. So again, these fellowships are either funded exclusively by the US government or jointly funded by the Indian and the US government. So the Indian government recognized the value of this program and became an equal partner in the Fulbright Fellowship in 2008. Now, my colleague Aditi will talk to you all about the higher studies in the US and the application process.
Are you guys able to hear me? Yeah. Great. So Ryan talked briefly about, the what USIF does, what Education USA is, and I'm going to now walk you through the application process. So make sure that any questions that you have, you either note them down. A little more. Yeah. Better. Just note them down and please ask all the questions at the end of the presentation. We'll be happy to take those questions. So just to put this in perspective, you probably have heard that United States is one of the most favored educational destinations, especially when it comes to higher education, right? So I'm talking about undergraduate programs, what we refer to as here in India as bachelor's programs, and then the graduate programs. In the US, the graduate programs are masters and PhDs. Okay, so just to put this in perspective, there are currently, according to the most recent Open Door reports, there are over 9 lakhs international students who are pursuing their different undergraduate, graduate programs in the US. Of those, over 1,67,000 are Indian students. So that makes them, that makes the Indian student body over 18%, which is a pretty big chunk, right? So this is just good to kind of, bear in mind that there are a lot of Indian students who are studying in the US. So what is it about the US education system? So, we get a lot of students, and our first question to them is always, ask yourself, why do you think US is the right destination for you? Right. And so there are various factors, and I can go into it, but I'm going to keep it, to brief, some salient features of higher education. So one of the things that, US offers you is just this vast option of how many institutions are there. So there are over 4,000 accredited US universities, right? That means that there is at least one for each one of you, right? Given the sheer number of US universities, that it also implies that there is homework cut out for you, right? Because you want to find the right fit university that you want to apply to and get into. Another very important aspect of higher education in the US is the flexibility that it offers, right? So just to give you an example from my personal experience, I was part of a PhD program in the biology department, but the kind of flexibility that is offered in the US, I was able to take classes that I otherwise wouldn't have, right? I was able to take a class in emerging technology, right? That's not something directly related to biology or PhD in biology, right? But it offers you that flexibility, and it's really up to you how much kind of research you put in to find out what different universities have to offer to you, because all these universities are different from each other. They have the freedom to choose, what are their entry requirements are for international students, what kind of programs, what kind of collaborative or multidisciplinary programs they offer to students, so on and so forth, right? So very important to students here today who are probably thinking of maybe applying to PhD programs or postdocs is the quality of education. So it's not just the state of art facilities and infrastructure, but the access. So it's not just that these buildings exist on campus, but you actually go and actually perform experiments, collect data, so on and so forth, right? So what universities in the US offer you is cutting edge technology. So maybe there is something I heard some of you are from the microbiology department. Maybe there is a particular technology that you're really interested in using. When you're researching universities, look at if that university has that facility. Maybe you're interested in pursuing something in nanotechnology. See if these the research infrastructure is available or not. Does it make sense to apply to that university or not, right? But overall, all universities offer you a quality education. So what I'm going to do now is to give you kind of walk you through what the application process looks like. See, I understand when I was applying, the first step that I followed was Google best universities in the US to apply. Right, that's usually our go-to. But Education USA is here for you if you want to have official information to understand what goes into the application process. So what we have done is that we know the application process can seem challenging and overwhelming. So we have broken that down into 5 steps. By no means these, 5 steps are exclusive of each other. They actually go hand in hand. But just to make sense of it, what we've done is we've broken them down into researching your options step, financing your studies, completing your application. So what actually goes into your application? And then I'll very briefly talk about the student visa and the pre-departure step. So the first step, and I'll go into more details for each of these steps, but understand that what I want you guys to take, this is working, what I want you guys to take from this slide is the timeline. If you look at the first step, researching your options, as I said, there are over 4,000 universities, so it's going to take you time. So start as early as possible. If you are someone who's in the first year of your master's, start your research now. It takes time to find the right fit universities, right? So we advise students to start at least a year, year and a half before you're planning to join the school. So let's hypothetically say that you're planning to apply for fall of 2023, which, what that means is that in the US, there are basically 2 major semesters, that application cycles, fall and one is spring. So when I say fall, the school or the classes start around August or September. So let's imagine that you are planning to apply for fall, wherein the classes will start next year in August. Your deadlines for that application cycle are going to be December of this year, approximately somewhere around November, December. So given that, you need to start researching, for universities at least a year and a year and a half. So if you're planning to apply for fall of 2023, you should have already kind of, researched through many universities, and now you should be kind of shortlisting universities, right? So it's important to kind of, bear in mind the timeline. The second step, financing your studies, actually goes really, really hand in hand with the first step, because when you're researching the universities, that's when you're also going to find out information on what kind of financial aid is available at that university. Are international students eligible to apply or not? Really have a good conversation with your parents, in terms of what is the budget. You can't just apply to universities where there is no, financial aid for international students and it doesn't even fit your budget. You might get into that university, but can you really financially support yourself or not, right? That's a very important question to answer. And then completing.
Just want to add that what Aditi was talking about is mostly if somebody's thinking about master's studies in the US. For those looking at doctoral studies, this financial thing is not as relevant, and we'll come to why in just a minute.
Right. No, this is fine. I can see this. Yeah, this is great. So then, sorry, where was I? Yeah, completing your application. So what in fact goes into your application package is also important, right? The different components of your application package, you can't develop them overnight. You have to work through that, from the beginning. You can't write your essay overnight. You can't get letters of recommendations overnight. So there is a process, and that's why a planned research is automatic. Okay, and then last 2 steps, of course, once you've been admitted to the US university, you receive documents and then you apply for student visa. We'll talk briefly about that later. I'm actually going to skip that slide. So what do I mean by researching? So there are some of these criteria that we have, mentioned here, but remember, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just to get you guys started. You might have more preferences than what has been mentioned on this slide. So for students who are interested in applying for PhDs, we recommend you use a college search engine called petersons.com, and the brochures that we have distributed, the link is there. Why we like this database is because it's a database, so there is no rank, reputation of the university attached to it. It's a pure database, right? So that is going to be your step one. I'm sure that you probably have heard about some 10, 20 US university names, and you think these are the only good colleges, but there is so much more. So use the database to kind of start your research. What do you do when, let's say that, you put in, a field that you are interested in, say nanotechnology, and you want to pursue PhD in nanotechnology. This database is basically going to throw out a list of all the universities that offers a PhD in nanotechnology, right? So your step two is going to be actually visiting the university's website. If not anything, remember this from today's session, that the only source of official information for a particular university's program is university's website and no other internet forum. Okay, no Reddit, no Quora. It's going to be only the university's website where you can find the authentic information. So go to the website, look at, if the program that you are interested in actually is offered at that university or not, right? Look at, things like, is this university accredited or not? As Ryan said that, we from Education USA, we represent all the accredited US universities, okay? So it's very important that you check whether the university is accredited or not. I hope everyone understands what accreditation is. I've also provided a link on that brochure to check if particular university that you're researching is accredited or not. There is a federal database that you can go into and check that. From your perspective, so students who are here and joining, who are planning to apply for, say, PhD programs, one of the important things, really, really important things that you want to look up is the department. What is the department offering? What is the structure of the PhD program? Right? Different universities might have slightly different PhD program, the structure that they offer. Some PhD programs, so someone, let's say, who's interested in molecular biology, right? The PhD program might have a structure where you don't have to choose an advisor, at the time of the application. You actually, the university offers you a format where you can work in 2-3 different labs in the first couple of weeks to see how how the lab works, what kind of studies are going on, and then decide if this lab is the right fit for you or not, right? So every university has a different kind of format, so make sure that you go through very carefully, understand the structure of the PhD program. Ask yourself, what are your academic requirements? Is this university's program meeting most of my academic requirements or not, right? Also look at the size of the department. Maybe you're a student who really thrives and grows in large departments, right? I wasn't one. I wanted to go to a university which is a medium size, which had smaller departments, where I could have more interaction with faculty members and my my classmates, so on and so forth. Whatever your preference is, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just what your preference is. So do kind of keep that in mind as well. Next, very, very critical point, faculty profiles, right? You can't just apply to the university based on its name. You want to go to the departments or the School of, say, Arts and Science, look at the faculty members and what kind of research is going on at that university. Look at least 4 faculties who kind of, have similar research interests as yours. It doesn't have to be a very specific project, but similar area that you would like to explore, right? When you're applying for, let's say, a PhD program, no one is expecting you to be an expert in the field. The PhD program is there to train you in that niche field to become an expert, right? So do definitely look at faculty profiles. As Ryan said, PhD programs usually tend to be funded at US universities because most of these universities are research-driven universities. And so a lot of funding goes towards research. That means PhD students also get covered under this. In the beginning, as I said, look at the research facilities. If there is something that you're really interested in having access to, make sure that technology, that facility is available to you. Also look at, so geographical location is not really important in the sense of, I should only apply to schools on the west or the east coast. But more importantly, if you are someone who can't really tolerate cold, maybe don't apply to all the schools in the north. Okay, maybe think about applying to some schools in the south of the US as well. Also, as PhD students, or even for that matter, postdocs, I think it's very important to remember that yes, you will be spending a lot of time in labs, but you'll also have a life outside of the lab too, right? It's important that you ask yourself what kind of campus is it that you're looking for. So just to give you an example, when I was applying, it was very important for me that I applied to a school where there were a lot of international students because I wanted to have that enriching experience. If you're someone like that, look at the international student services. That's where you will find how diverse the university is. What kind of activities can you engage? The very reason actually I, was able to find this job was because of my volunteering at the university. I was actually volunteering for a Fulbright program at that point, and that's how I got to know. But this was, I was able to do this because I kind of got out of my comfort zone. I looked at what kind of activities can I engage in, along with the research and everything, the classwork that you have to do. Okay, so these are some of the things, you should kind of keep in mind when you are researching the universities. Now, sorry, I can't read the title, but so what are the questions that you should kind of ask, while you're researching, right? So how many students, so sometimes universities like to put this information out. How many students, is the department planning to accept? Some universities might have a, format where they expect the students to get in touch with a prospective advisor and see if they actually have space for the next fall or next spring to accept a graduate student, right? Otherwise, if you have like two faculty members who have said that, oh, they really do not have the space in their lab, there is no point really then applying. So keep, make sure that you create an Excel sheet as you're researching universities, create all these columns and start filling information. So at the end, you will have a really rich database of universities that you think are the right fit for you. Also look at, are most faculty actively doing research? So how do you find that out? Look at the publications, look at how regularly do they publish, look at what kind of journals are they publishing in. Also one of, some of the minute things that you can also look at is, who are the authors? Do you see that graduate students, given authorship in their publications? This is, some indications of how this lab works, right? um, is there a place for you? And I'll have another slide that I'll show you, just to get a sense of what to look for. How well equipped is the lab? And this is important because it's not just from the academic point of view. Remember, your PhD programs are not just 2 years or 3 years programs, right? In the US, the PhD programs can be 4, 5, 6 years, depending on your field of study, right? Uh, so it's very important that you understand how the program is structured. So every US university will have a graduate student council, for example, right? If you are facing some issues, if there are challenges, you can go to the graduate student council and discuss that, right? What are the teaching requirements? Interdisciplinary centers. So as you know that US universities, so faculty members at US universities love to be part of collaborative research, right? And I think this would be a great opportunity for a college like yours and the US universities, if there are any collaborative projects that you can plan out. But even within the university, you will see there might be some cluster of faculties who are kind of collaborating on different projects. Maybe you are someone who is interested in microbiology, but someone from the climatology department is also collaborating to get certain data from microbiology department, right? That's a very good collaboration. So ask yourself, see, as scientists, as researchers, we might tend to focus on very narrow niche kind of skill set. But remember that you need to have, as you progress in life, you want to have more transferable skills, right? If you get to be part of more diverse collaborative projects, you will be able to get that.
And if I may add, when you're looking at interdisciplinary centers, as Aditi said, you build new skills by interacting. For example, when I was doing molecular biology during my postdoc, we had people from the physics department, from the math department attend our meetings because they're all contributing towards the same goal, and you learn so much about it. And take that one step further, not just interdisciplinary center. Do they collaborate with other labs, not just in the US? You'll have great researchers going on right here. So if you're doing your PhD in the US, will your university in the US allow you to come back to India to do some of your research here? Because there's such a wealth of resources here as well. So those are kinds of things to look for when you're looking for your potential US universities.
Yes, last point, funding, right? It's very important for PhD students, especially because the program is so long. How long is the funding, offered? There are, some minute differences into as to what the department offers versus what graduate school might offer. There's, there are possibilities of extending the program sometimes, but you want to look into that when you're researching. Choosing your advisor, very, very, very important. I can't stress how important this part is. Okay. Uh, of course, when you're researching, look at, 2, 3 faculty profiles, as I said. Look at the stability of the faculty. A lot of university, US university faculty members will also, go on sabbaticals while, they're tenuring, right? They'll go to some other country at some other university and do their, research for a semester or year, whatever that is, right? So make sure the universities that you're looking at, the faculty members that you are looking at, have stability. Compatibility, there should be more than at least 2 faculty members that I've been stressing on. Mentor's scientific reputation, so publication. Here I would also, the next point, actually, the style of professor. His or her lab. Look at, does the PI work in the lab? Ask yourself, what kind of a mentor are you looking for? Okay. Are you someone who is interested in working, researching in a large lab of, say, 4 or 5 PhD students, 2 postdocs, and a bunch of undergraduate students, right? Are you that student? If not, then look for, faculty members who have smaller labs. Whatever the preference is, kind of keep that in mind. I will tell you this, and of course, Ryan can also add. Your mentor plays a very, very important role, not just academically, but even non-academically. Okay. Science is not something that is linear. You're going to have lots of ups and downs, right? It's very important to have a supportive advisor. Uh, Also look at, if on the university's website, for the faculty member, they might have, special separate web pages. Look at how their projects are funded, right? Are there multiple projects going on? Are there different, types of grants that are supporting these projects? How often are they getting this funding? That these are just some good clues for you to understand if this is a right mentor for you or not, right? Lot of now, faculty members also like to kind of, show on their web pages what are their graduate students doing. Where are their postdocs gone? So a lot of them will show that this, these students were, researching in my lab as an undergraduate student and have moved on to pursue their PhDs now, right? So you'll get to also see that. That is also good information that, this mentor is really invested in their students, right? That is very, very important. Now, completing your application. So this is just a timeline that we have, advised students to follow. And this is given for students, let's say, who are applying for fall of 2023. Okay, so when the school starts in August or September, we advise students to, finish taking their standardized test. In your case, it most probably will be GRE exam. So finish taking that exam sometime, I don't know, by end of August, the latest. When it comes to applying for PhD programs, you have to apply on individual university websites. Okay, by August, all the online application portals for individual websites will for individual universities will open. You can, if you at that point have shortlisted the universities, you can even start opening your accounts and start filling, basic biographical information. If there are certain fellowships or scholarships for doctoral students, doctoral applicants, usually they tend to have earlier deadline to submit documents, right? So usually October, November would be the time. Around September, November, you should be ready with your statement of purpose, with your letters of recommendation, your resume. In case of, PhD students, you might be even required to write like a writing sample, right? Or a research statement of sort, right? And by December, definitely your regular deadlines are going to start. Now, each university will have a different deadline for international students. So that Excel sheet that I was mentioning, one of the columns should be when is the deadline for this particular university for international students for PhD program, right? So what goes into the application package, right? So of course you have to fill out the online form, you have to pay the application fee. Lot of times though, universities will do various information sessions, and they'll say that if you attend this information session, we'll waive off your application fee. You can save some, few dollars here and there like that. You have to submit your transcripts of your undergraduate degree. So if you have a 3-year, 4-year undergraduate degree, you have to submit that. You have to take standardized tests. So now you want to go, whichever universities you've shortlisted research, You want to see if that university requires you to submit the GRE score. Okay, some might be optional, so you don't have to. So look that up. Let's say that you shortlisted 10 universities, 8 universities out of those don't require you to take GRE. Maybe then you want to rethink if there is any sense taking the GRE or not. Okay, as an international student, you have to take English proficiency exam, whether it is TOEFL, whether it's IELTS, whether it's Duolingo, PT, doesn't matter, as long as the scores are accepted by the university. You need at least 2 or 3 letters of recommendation. For graduate students, so students applying for PhDs, it's very important that you think through who you want to ask for the letter of recommendations, because that's the only independent channel of sort between the university and your professor to kind of see who you are as a student, what are your skills, right? um, Application essays. So graduate students, you have to write the statement of purpose, which is a very technical document, and I'll be more than happy to take questions after the presentation. In addition to the statement of purpose, the university might require you to submit like a personal statement. See, as I said, statement of purpose is a technical document, but the university might want to understand who you are as a person, right? So personal statement might be an additional document. Sometimes diversity statements nowadays is becoming very important. So when you're researching the university, look at their diversity center, look at what are the values that the university, what are the values that are very important to the university. Where do you fit in there, right? So also, be prepared that you might have to add those as well. Of course, your resume. Sometimes for PhDs, applicants, the advisors, potential advisors might want to interview you, right? Not for all universities, but some universities for sure. And then some universities might require you to write like a writing sample. Again, this is not something every university requires, but be prepared, okay, that this might be a possibility. Financial documents, I don't think it's really relevant to the PhD students, but there might be for some programs. Applying for your visa. So once, let's say that you have sent in your applications by December of this year, you will start hearing university decisions by February, March onwards, right? So let's say you applied. We advise students to apply to 8 to 10 universities. Let's say that you heard back from 5 of them or 10 of them. You've gotten into 5 of the schools and got rejected by the rest 5. These 5 schools are going to send you a document called I-20, which is known as the eligibility certificate. This is one piece of paper which is very, very critical when you go for the student visa. Now, out of these 5 schools, you have to choose one school that you want to enroll in. Okay, and that's the I-20 that you take for your student visa. Now, Education USA is not the official source for information on student visa. It's only the embassy, the US embassy, and the US consulate. And we have provided the link to find the information on what the student visa process looks like, what are the important steps to take. And I would encourage you to go on their website and look at the resources that they have seen. On top of that, if you have questions, we have done multiple sessions with consular officers. So consular officers are the one who actually interview you for the visa. So they have come and done sessions to walk you through what the process looks like, right? And so once you've through your visa interview, comes the time for your departure. So only thing that I want you guys to take away from this, that every year Education USA does a pre-departure orientation where we might have some alumni or current students who can kind of guide you or prepare you for the first 2 weeks when you land on the US university campus, right? So keep an eye out on that when you get to that point. Now, real quick for PhD students, right? Funding opportunities. Uh, uh, Truth to be told, for a PhD program, you don't want to spend money out of your pocket. Okay, US universities, because these are programs that are much lengthier than other programs, right? So PhD students are given priority for funding at all universities and departments. Okay, you can find that information on the university's website. What I will add to that is look for other funding opportunities as well. So for example, when I was doing my PhD, as a graduate student, we also had funds to go and just participate in a conference in the first 2 years, right? Look at that, if that particular university that you're looking at has such funding for you, right? Amount and type of financial assistance will vary depending on your program, your department, your college, university. your field of study and things like that. Okay. Financial support is awarded based on merit. It's very, very important to remember this. And what type of financial support is offered? Of course, there are scholarships or fellowships. These are something that, as I said, might have deadlines earlier than the regular application deadlines. So keep an eye out for that. And most common ones are the assistantships, right? So there are three types of assistantships. There are graduate assistantships, research assistantships, and teaching assistantships. I will, really encourage you. So if you are very serious about applying for a PhD program in the US, there is nothing better than getting a teaching or research assistantship experience. This is not just important, in terms that you get, a stipend. So basically like a monthly salary from the university, because you are providing a service to the university, right? And in return, the university also waives off your tuition. So you literally, don't have to really pay a single, penny out of your pocket. But in addition to that, the experience that you gather. So when I was a teaching assistant, I really had no confidence whatsoever of doing this, talking in front of people, right? Um, that experience has really helped me gain skills that I was not even aware that I had. Right. So don't think of research, teaching, or graduate assistantships only in terms of that, oh, I'll get some money, and I don't have to pay for the PhD. It's a lot more than that. Okay. um, Very important. Look up, the web pages that, as I've been telling you, look at, university guides, conference materials. Try and look for, more, as much information as possible on the research advisors and professors. So I'll go actually to the next. There are some websites that you can make a note of. Of course, the first one is what Ryan also has mentioned, the usif.org.in for the Fulbright fellowships, as well as a lot of information on higher studies in the US. There is also the funding usstudy.org website, and financialaid.org website as well. Don't worry if you don't get it, I can bring up this slide again. So what I wanted to point out is these are some of the examples of how university web pages look like. Okay, so these are only for the purpose of using it as an example. By no means I'm endorsing any of these universities. So what you see on the top left corner is what the departmental website will look like. Okay, what you're seeing there is what comes under the graduate program. So read through that. This is very, very important. On the right top corner, what you see is an example from another university where they have kind of listed out all the field of studies where kind of like their own departments of sort. We're used to here in India calling each one as the department. You might not necessarily have that in the US. So you might have School of Arts and Science, and you might have like just Department of Biology, but all these fields that you see on this slide might come under the Department of Biology. Okay, now why I want I have posted this picture here, because the field of research that you are interested in might not be exclusive to just say genetics. It might be a combination of some fields that you're seeing on this website, right? So whatever university you are researching, make sure that that multidisciplinary kind of research is a possibility at that university. Okay, now I've been talking about like, oh, you should look up faculty profiles, and make sure that you have at least 2-3 faculty members whose research interest kind of coincide with what you want to do. This is how the faculty web pages look like. At the bottom, what you're seeing is one of the faculty members. If you see on the top, it's not very clear, but they have all these tabs where you can actually go in and see what publications they have. They have a separate tab for if you are someone interested in connecting with the professor. They have given the information for that as well. Do they expect you to connect with them or write to them before you apply or after you apply? So I'm not saying all the universities will have this, but majority of universities have separate faculty web pages. So make the best use of that. This, so this faculty also has listed all the publications, has also listed the teams, the team that he has in his lab. That gives you an idea about how many members are there in his lab, right?
Can I add, if I want to add to that, when you're looking at faculties, faculty profiles, and things like that, Aditi mentioned something very important early on, with regard to looking at the publications, but also looking at who's getting the publications. So you can go to the PubMed and get the list of publications by that faculty. And then when you go on this website and see the people, you'll see whether the graduate student is getting the publication or the postdoc is getting the publication. As potential graduate students, you want to go to a lab where you're going to get the publication and not the postdoc. So these are kinds of things to keep in mind when you all are looking for uh, potential labs. So moving on, what Aditi was talking about was those who want to pursue PhD in the US. But there are opportunities for people who want to pursue PhD in India to get an opportunity to go for short-term duration to the US, get some advanced training there, and come back and complete your PhD here. And the same thing with the postdocs. So that's where the Fulbright fellowships come in. That's what I'm going to talk about. So as you all can see, there are 23 fields that are supported for this past cycle. And agricultural science is right on top of the list. It's something that's very, very important. Okay, and veterinary science will come under agriculture, the broad field of agricultural sciences. So I'm going to talk a little bit about three specific types of fellowships. The first is the doctoral fellowship. So the deadline for the doctoral and the academic and professional excellence has already gone. So with the doctoral fellowship, you have to be registered for a PhD at an Indian institute, and then you can apply for the doctoral fellowship and go, if selected, go to the US for 6 to 9 months, and then come back and complete your PhD from your Indian institute. The postdoctoral fellowships are one of the very popular fellowships because you get to go to the US for up to 2 years, anywhere between 8 months to 2 years. And we are still accepting applications for postdoctoral fellowships for those wishing to go in August next year. The application information is all on our website. Okay? And for the faculty members, y'all are spoiled because y'all get two choices. So y'all get to go for either 4 to 9 months at one stretch, which is called the regular application, or since it's very hard for faculty members to take so much time off, y'all can break it down into two segments called the flex program, where you go 1 to 3 months in the first year and then 1 to 3 months in the second year. So the deadline for this also is gone, but it'll reopen in January next year. So what do the Fulbright fellowships include? You'll get the monthly stipend. So this monthly stipend is going to be determined on the level of your fellowship. The doctoral fellowship will fellows slightly lower level. Postdoctoral will get higher, and then the academic faculty will get the highest level. It's also determined by the location where you're going to be studying, which university, if it's on the East Coast in New York or San Francisco on the West Coast, it's cost a lot more to study in there, so live there. So you'll get a slightly higher stipend. You'll get the health insurance as per the US government guideline. If the university, US university has a fee for you to be affiliated there, we'll pay for that fee. You'll also get the round trip air tickets from your home city, wherever you're based in India, to the US university and back. So with the Fulbright fellowships, there's absolutely no expense on your part. The work that you all have to do will be in putting in a very competitive application. So that is where you all have to put your effort in making your application competitive. So how do you make your application competitive? So as I mentioned, we work for the postdoctoral. We are currently accepting applications for those going next year. The process of selecting fellows takes a full year. So we start off with making the announcement in January, February. The deadlines for each fellowship will vary from May to September, depending on the type of fellowship. Then it goes, once we receive the applications, two subject experts will read all the applications in that particular field and will grade those applications. The ones with the highest grade are then called for an interview, or what is called a selection. It's an interview either in Delhi, or last 2 years we've done it online. And once you're selected, then the documents are sent to our Washington US counterpart, the IIE. They will make sure that you placed at a US university. And once you're placed, then the grants will be issued to you, and then we'll process your visa for you. So you'll be going to the US on a J1 visa. Okay? So everything is done for you, but you need to put in a strong application. There are lots of resources that are available to help you prepare your application. The best resource will be the usief.org.in website. Okay, that's so if you go to our website, there are 6 tabs at the bottom of the page. So click on the one Fulbright Fellowships, and then click on the next tab, Fulbright Fellowships for Indian Citizens. And you'll get the list of all the fellowships that we offer, and you'll get the links to the application, the checklist, what else, what all you need to submit with the application. Everything is there. It'll also talk about the eligibility criteria for each award. On our websites, under this, another tab is called Current Fellows. There you could see the bios of the last 3 years of people who've been given the Fulbright Awards. So you could see what kind of projects they did and you'll be able to judge for yourself how competitive your proposal is. And then you can use our social media handles. We got a very good YouTube channel, and we are very active on Facebook as well to get more information about the Fulbright Fellowships. And you can also, most of y'all are reading research papers anyway, right? So y'all are all familiar with who's publishing it, where they are from and all. So write to them. I'm applying for the Fulbright Fellowship. If I get it, will you be able to host me in your lab? If they say yes, it's not mandatory, but it shows good motivation from your part that you're really taking the effort to do your project, get your project going. So when you're putting in a proposal, there are certain things you need to keep in mind. It needs to be very, very clear and detailed description of your objective. Okay? That's really, really important. While we are saying clear and detailed, we don't want 10 pages long project statement. Okay? It has to be just 2 pages for doctoral studies. This is funded by the US and Indian government. So they want to know, how is it going to benefit both the governments and your home institution? Okay, so be very clear as to what is the benefits of doing this project. You're telling them, fund me to go to the US for this project. You have to explain why the research has to be done in the US and cannot be done here. So these are kinds of things to keep in mind when you're putting together your research proposal. Okay. Also talk about how the project will be completed within the fixed time. For doctoral students, you get 6 to 9 months in the US. And very often people like to impress the faculty members and put 4 or 5 objectives. It's not viable to complete so many objectives. Okay? So be realistic with your timeline. Okay? Show how the project fits in with your prior training, that you have the training to complete this project. And if you've interacted with US universities, mention the names of the US universities where you'd like to be hosted. So we are looking at the merit is the top priority when we select candidates. It's not just the merit of the candidate, it's also the merit of the Fulbright project. Okay, how impactful is this project going to be? What is the benefits for both the US and India? Why does this project need to be conducted in the US? I'll give you an example. Okay, postdoctoral students can apply for up to 2 years. And almost everybody says, I want to go for 2 years. In one of the selection committees, we sit in as non-voting members in the selection committees. So at one particular interview that I was sitting in, the student had the research objective, I'm going to make my clones for 6 months and then use the remaining 12 months to do the experiments. And the last 6 months will be to write the manuscript and get everything ready. And the selection committee member said, you can prepare clones here. Why do you need 6 months extra in the US? Okay, so these are kinds of things to keep in mind, that when you're asking for a certain amount of time in the US, the project needs to be done in the US. You should not be saying that I'm going to the US, I'll figure out what I'm going to be doing during those 6 to 9 months. Okay, be very, very clear with your timeline and why that is project needs to be done in the US. Talk about your outcome and the impact and the benefits. We're going to look at the motivation, and that's why we have an interview with the person. As I mentioned right at the start, the overarching goal of Fulbright is mutual understanding between the people of the United States and the people of India. And so we are very interested in, if you're given this Fulbright fellowship, how are you going to spread Indian culture at the US university and in the US areas? So be able to explain that in your proposals. Okay? We're going to look at your communication skills and your commitment to help India develop when you come back after your Fulbright fellowship. For any student who's interested in higher studies in the US, they could just go on this link and during the times mentioned, interact with a Education USA advisor. You don't have to register, nothing, just go there. It's a link and they can interact with an education advisor if you're looking for doctoral studies. Get any question you all want answered right then and there. So that's our contact information. We'll be happy to take questions. Once again, thank you very much for inviting us here. We look forward to interacting with a lot of your students, both those looking for doctoral studies in the US, as well as those interested in the Fulbright fellowships. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for very nice and excellent information. Very, Miss you, Dr. Riyan sir and Dr. Aditi madam has given the information in their inspirational speech, and whatever the information is there now, definitely I assure you, both of you, that that this information will be benefited to our UG, PG, and PhD students as well as the faculties. Now the topic is open. If from the participants anyone wants to ask the questions, you can ask. You use the mic.
What's the difference between an Ivy League versus a state? And what about their funding? How would we benefit if would it be cheaper? Which one would be cheaper?
And what level are you going for?
PhD.
Okay, that's very, very important. Generally speaking, let's talk to the first question. What is an Ivy League university? So in the US, there are a group of 8 universities that come together to share their resources. They're called the Ivy League. They tend to be the very older universities. So they are called and they all tend to be in the northeast of the United States. There are only 8. Everybody thinks that Stanford, MIT, and all are Ivy Leagues. They're not. Okay. So that's that. What's the difference between the Ivy Leagues and the other universities? So in the US, there are several universities come together to form clusters where they share resources, library resources, research resources, things like that. Okay? And there are several of these clusters in the United States. The Ivy League is just one such cluster. You have the Big Ten, you have the Southeastern Conference, you have the ACC, you have the Pac-10, Pac-12 on the West Coast. So there are so many of these. They play sports together, they do lots of things together. Okay, but that it's just an association. With regard to the funding, I, as an Education USA advisor, I do not like students applying for a PhD program in the United States in the biological sciences or the engineering fields unless it's fully funded on admission. There is a lot of funding available in the United States for this research. So there's absolutely no reason that y'all should not be, if admitted to the doctoral program, you should not be getting full funding. Now, the level of funding is not going to be allow you to buy a Ferrari in the US, okay? But it is definitely more than enough to have a comfortable life. So when I went to the US, my parents, the only expense they had to do was to buy my first airfare to the US. After that, my stipend was enough for me to live comfortably in the US and come back every December for a holiday here in India. So that's what you'll need to do. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, about the state universities, could you just throw
So-
some lights about it? Because I've heard it's cheaper there.
So the state universities, their tuition rate by and large are cheaper, but for doctoral students, it's not going to matter because you're getting your tuition part of the funding. So
Can I also just add that for PhD applicants, really the name of the university is not as important as, the maybe the department that you are applying to. So when you start researching for universities, don't focus on the name. Maybe you haven't heard, the name of this particular university, but remember there are over 4,000, right? So at least there are what 700 or universities offering PhD programs, right? You are not going to hear all these names, right? So don't exclude because you've not heard the name. That is not really not important at a PhD level. You want to kind of focus more on the department, the technology that you want to have access to, the research facilities. If you you come across a university which is accredited, has at least 2 3 faculty members whose research interests kind of combine with what you are looking for, please go and read more about it. Don't restrict yourself just because you've not heard the name.
I will take it one step further to what Aditi was talking about. Uh, when you're looking for a PhD and when you're looking to base your career, there are three things that are really important that you all should be looking for. 2 or 3 faculty doing research you like. Those 2 or 3 faculty should be publishing regularly, and it should be fully funded on admission. Nowhere does the name of the university come into play. Okay? Because as long as you're getting your publication, that's all that matters. In the US, there's a well-known saying in science, publish or perish. So that's all that's really important. If you're getting your publications, y'all will be just fine. I'll just another story with regards to choice of universities, like you talked about state universities and Ivy Leagues. How many of y'all know who Khurana was? Harbin Singh Khurana. Well, have all done the science, right? And everybody knows that he had his lab at MIT. In fact, my PhD advisor worked at MIT with Khurana. But what people do not know was that his Nobel Prize was for work that he did while he was at the University of Wisconsin, which is a state university. So don't think that you need to be at the big name university to do this great work. There's a lot of high quality work going on all across the United States. Don't limit yourself to just the name brand universities.
Any other students?
They can take this off. I can't hear you. Any other questions? You go. It's on. It's on.
Sorry. So, thanks for the lecture. And I do have a question, like for postdoctoral studies. And so, sir, like, and rather, ma'am told us regarding something statement of purpose. Can you please like shed light on it? Like, what do we need to write in it, and what's the purpose of the document itself?
So if you're referring to postdoctoral studies in the US, are you referring to the Fulbright Fellowship postdoctoral fellow or just general?
I've,
of-
I've
yeah.
actually explored quite a lot regarding postdoctoral studies, and I know one such program that is offered by Germany. It's a Star Fellowship, and it's a quite good program. They offer you like a fellowship of around 3 years. But I've never searched in terms of US. Like I've more gone to Germany and like in Italy, these areas, like Europe, probably. Yeah.
So I would strongly recommend that you do look at the Fulbright Fellowship. It is meant for people such as you, and it is fully funded. The deadline to apply for the postdoctoral fellowship is August 17th. When you're applying for the Fulbright Fellowship, what you have to do is there's no statement of purpose such. It's more a research project, a research proposal. So you'll have to write a 2-page research proposal about what you're going to be doing in the US, what are the objectives and what are the outcomes. Okay, so that's, and your timeline is very, very important. If you're planning on applying to a US lab on your own without the Fulbright Fellowship, I strongly recommend that you look at the magazines like Science and Cell. Those are the science well-known. They have advertisements for potential postdoc opportunities by US scholars. So I would look there. And there you just write a short email to the professor and say, I saw this ad, and this is my...
उसी सेमिनार में जुड़ा हूँ यूएस के में
So does that
ये
email
मीटिंग मैंने अप्लाई किया है इसमें ये देखो अपने डॉक्यूमेंट चेक कर रहे हैं इधर बैठ के एलिजिबल है कि नहीं बंदा सही कह रहा हूँ
like does that email like needs a cover letter like briefly defining what my area of expertise are, what I'm actually looking for to
so
work in the
yeah, so when you even for the others, for everybody, okay, when you're first contacting the US university professor, do not write a long message. Okay, they get 200 such emails a day. They don't have time to read these. And y'all also get all these messages. Okay, they do not have time to read these. So it's very important to just write a short email that I saw. If you're a Fulbright applying for the Fulbright Fellowship, say I'm applying. Will you be able to host me? That's it. If you're applying for doctoral studies in the US, say I'm applying for the doctoral program at your university. Do you have any? Are you taking graduate students next year? That's it. If they say yes, then you can put them down as one of your potential hosts, mentors. Okay, but if they say no, you might want to look at somewhere else. Okay, and if you're applying for postdoc, the same thing will happen. I saw your ad in the paper. I'm very interested in the work. And, this is my brief bio. Keep it very, very brief.
Can I just add to that? That we have done an elaborate session on communication skills. If you and on this brochure, we have given the link to our YouTube channel, Education USA India. It's a good 1-hour session, so I know it's long, but it really covers all these points. What should I write to the professor? Because I've seen a lot of students that I've come across applying to PhD programs. They'll send their bio, their resume. They will write about abstract that for the conference paper that they have submitted. Professors really don't have that much of time in research teaching. They really don't have that time. So keep it really, really brief, but I'll encourage you to watch that session and make notes from that session.
It's very, very common for professors to get very flowery letters. You're an outstanding scientist and all that. Just nonsense. Okay, keep it very simple.
thank you, sir.
Okay.
sir, from whom do we preferably get the letters of recommendations from?
Okay. That's a very, very good question. The question is, who should we get the letters of recommendation from? It should be faculty who either taught you or supervised your research. Now, very often in India, we are under the belief that the higher the designation of the faculty, the more valuable the letter. And that's not true. Okay? If a faculty member can put down an example of how you're a very highly motivated student and give an example of that, that's far more impactful than the signature at the bottom of the page. So any faculty member who's taught you or you've done research with can give you a letter of recommendation.
I'll also add, like, think about, the classes that you have taken, different classes, right? Think about which of these classes are relevant to what you want to pursue, right? And then kind of, figure out that if this faculty member will actually have something to talk about the program that you're planning to apply for.
Also, so I have another question. So you say that it's better if we get, ma'am, like it's better if we get a teaching assistantship in that country. So for that, do we need any prior like experience on teaching or anything like?
No, I don't believe that you need any experience teaching, but universities will mention on, the PhD program that being for being a teaching assistant, what are the requirements in terms of English proficiency? So if, in TOEFL exam, for example, you have different sections, right? Some universities might have very specific requirements as to what should be your minimum speaking score or your reading, abilities, right? But that will be mentioned on the university's website.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I love making fun of myself. So very often in India, people are always of the opinion, I don't speak English well enough. How will I teach in the US or how will I survive? When I went to the US, I thought I spoke English really well. And I was given a teaching assistantship. I go there, I take this English test, and I failed the English test. I didn't lose my fellowship, okay, but I had to take English speaking, and it turned out to be the best class I ever took. So don't be afraid or sell yourself short. I'm not good enough for this. Always trust yourself and try. Okay, and we wish you all the best.
So on that note, I'll also say, so I did my undergrad in microbiology and my master's in biodiversity, so like ecological studies, right? I was never taught a class in human anatomy, but I was a teaching assistant of human anatomy lab, right? So these experiences are very, very, crucial for you to grow in your the journey that you're going to take. You eventually you might want to become, a tenure track professor or want to have your own lab, right? You want to have as diverse skills as you can. So look at the university website. That is going to be your best official source of information on all this kind of pieces of bits of information you're looking for.
Okay, thank you very much, madam and sir, for wonderful information. Yeah. Now I request our Associate Dean, Dr. D. Lokhande sir, to give the concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Pereira and Dr. Lile Madam. Uh, Very nice program. And for 1.5 hours, we got a lot of information. See, sir, veterinary faculty and the students wants to go abroad. We are going also. But then individual people are going. So with your this lecture, definitely we got lot of information regarding how to select the mentor, how to apply for visa, how to select the institute and all that. So these are very important guidelines you have given, and definitely more students and faculty members will also apply and will come to you. One more point I want to add here, sir. Our honorable vice chancellors want also the two-way communications. Sir, Bombay Veterinary College and Mapsu University is having the colleges with lot of laboratories and well-equipped laboratories. So, sir, with your institute, if we'll get students or if we started the dialogues from other university with our university, and if it is possible from you to help us to bring the students from USA to India, specifically to our university, because our university colleges are having well equipped laboratories. So that will also help them, and then there will be more easy for uh, our students also to interact and went there. So with these few words, I thanks once more. Okay, okay, sir.
Just want to add to that. Uh, this Saturday, I'm going to be flying to the US. I'm going to be interacting with at a conference with 500 US universities. So I've already made a note of what the Vice Chancellor wants exchanges with US universities. So I will bring that up.
Thank
The
you,
other
sir.
aspect about it is that in March next year, we have a group of 13 US universities, very senior level administrators coming to Mumbai. So I'll definitely be in touch with you all
Yes.
so that we could maybe have an interaction with them when they come here.
Yes, yes. Introduction, and we'll show you, sir, what we are having, so that they will realize and they will also send the students. So with this, thank you very much, sir, for spending your valuable time and guiding us, and we'll definitely uh, convey our students to approach you and to go for higher studies in US. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your concluding remarks. Now I request our Dr. R.J. Jinde, sir, PI, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. Really, sir, I support the opinion of our associate dean, Dr. Lokhande, sir. Definitely, sir, I can also assure you that this is a veterinary college from where these veterinarians are born, and this is Asia's first veterinary college. So definitely, our alumni are across the different globe in the different countries. They are working at higher positions, and we would like to continue the same trend from our university to go abroad, our students, and learn in higher education institutions in various, not only in US but the other countries also. But from the student side, researchers or the academicians, they first prefer the US destination for the any higher studies. So with that remark, and definitely, sir, you have provided very good information to the students, academicians, and our faculties of our university. So how to go about undertaking any international training or education in the US, and definitely they will get benefited out of that. And the project under which we are conducting this program, that is NAHEP, that is National Agriculture Higher Education Project. It is funded by the World Bank through ICAR, Government of India. So under this also we have to also send some students out for an internship or 3 to 4 month training programs. So in the I think mid of this August, I will be taking out that notification to all the students. Okay. So you have to have prepared. So what are the guidelines sir has given? Okay, for you how to prepare for this going to higher studies or any training programs, okay, or your future plans for the any PhD or the postdoc. So that also you can plan accordingly, and I'll be getting out that notification in the mid of this August and calling the application from the students also. So for that programs also we have to tie up with the USIEF, so you can guide them for how to select universities. So far, sir, we have done two universities, the MOU with Penn State University and Washington State University. And also, I am trying for the Texas University. Already, we have sent the draft. So I think within 1 week, yesterday only, I had a talk with our one of the colleague. He is working there as an associate professor in the microbiology department. So he said me that in the next week, I think that will be finalized, and the Texas also will be signing MOU through our honorable vice chancellor. Then after that, sir, we are also trying to another two universities in Malaysia and Azaba University in Japan also. So we'd like to send, that trend continues. And nowadays, that the students they are getting government services in Maharashtra, so that regular, uh, LU advertisements are there. So student they are not inclining to go for the higher studies and do their bright future. So our vice chancellor is also guiding me to do something for the students so that the student will go abroad and learn many things, many technologies, and we can develop their career. So on that line, sir, you have given very good information today, and we thank both of you for your valuable time. And I know that for calling also you'll be not available since 1 week. So I used to just contact with the Simran and pass it the information to you all. So you're always busy with some kind of the programs under this USF, and next week we are also flying to USA. So the proper authority, the university authority or college authority, and my team, whole team, my students. So I profusely thank you for both of you for giving and sharing your experience also, your own experience also you have shared. So thank you so much. Thank you. And also I thank all the students participated offline, online for this program, and my also humble request to think about going abroad and learn good things. Take the advantage of this project also. Okay. And for that trainings also you can apply. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, one and all. Now, with the permission of chair, I declare this program is over. Thank you.